end of the world. It's the end of the world. Tonight, the end of the world is gonna end tonight.
Welcome back. Welcome to episode 10. This is a milestone in this podcast. I guess I'm going to keep on pushing through, see what happens in a few weeks. Didn't really have anything scheduled for this one. Wasn't going to do it today, but there's a few things I want to talk about, this being one of them. You saw the video. You know by now. America is looking to punish those Russians. Shame on the Russian people for Vladimir Putin doing what he's doing, right? This is something that's very, very dangerous. And if there's one thing that has taught us how dangerous this is, it is literature from Russia. Should we now, because of what's going on, throw out Alexander Solzhenitsyn, who suffered more by the hand of the Russian government than you could even imagine? 8 years, I believe. 8 years in inhuman, dehumanizing animal conditions where people die on the way to the gulags that are even worse. Should we throw out Dostoevsky? Just forget about Crime and Punishment and all the moral lessons that we've learned from that. Tolstoy. Just burn his books. Why don't we? Right? I have a question. What does vodka made by independent manufacturers? I don't think that any of these vodka manufacturers are the Republic of Russia. I don't think Putin was at the bottling plants. I think that these are people with families and livelihoods and probably not policymakers, probably not communist leaders, probably not generals or even soldiers. And to the best of my knowledge, I'm just going off of common sense, which a lot of times when something seems to make sense, but you're told that it doesn't, like when gas prices are raising for over a year, and then they tell you, hey, it's good, it's a sign of a healthy economy, and now they're telling you, oh, it's because of Putin, right? Well, maybe it is, but not totally. Something else is going on, right? So, my common sense tells me that these liquor stores, bars, whatever, have already paid Russia. Russia's already got... What are they doing by... They're just hurting themselves. They're hurting an already hurting American economy, right? What is... Okay, that doesn't make much sense. Just like they say, Elon Musk, shut down their Teslas. Yeah, we wouldn't want... I'm trying to think of Russian names, but we wouldn't want Sonia. Wow, that's a good one. That's a prostitute from Crime and Punishment. We wouldn't want Sonia or poor Petya from War and Peace. Sad part of the book. Only part that brought a tear to my eye. We wouldn't want him getting to school, or her getting to her factory job to support her invalid brother and And you get what I'm going at. We're talking about just people. You're people, I'm people, the people in Ukraine are people, and then there's the politics, right? That's separate. Yeah, they're fighting a war. And it's I want to say, I mean, it is horrible. It's sad. People are dying and families are being ripped apart, and I'm not so sure that there's a higher crust of individuals, a higher a hierarchy, the cabal, if you would, that aren't seeing this as a positive thing and exploiting it just like they exploited COVID. They're going to exploit this and twist it to their own nefarious means, right? But ordinary people are going to suffer. You know who suffers, and you know, war is never good for children. No matter what, even if it's a war of freedom, children are still going to lose. They're going to lose their innocence. They're going to lose their parents. They're going to lose their lives. Sometimes war is necessary, but it is never something that's great, right? By all means, let's defeat the evil side and triumph the good side, but let's not hurt the ordinary people. This is the second part I'm getting at. The first part is just common sense. What are you doing by dumping out stuff that's already been bought and paid for? You're not, I mean, okay, stop the imports. You're still going to hurt the average person more than the government, but if you're dumping out stuff that's already paid for, you're not hurting anybody but Americans, right? Maybe somebody can explain this to me. If I'm just totally off base here, put in the comments how this makes sense. How these guys with their zeal to screw Russia. Which brings me to the second part. Revenge. There's a reason why God says, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord." Nothing good. You know, almost every plot to every good TV show that I like, usually the plot is this group does something to this group, and this group fights back, and they're justified, right? But sometimes this group goes too far and hurts this group, and even though these groups were about to come together, now they can't because they just revenged. Somebody did revenge on this group, and now they're mad, and they do something on this group, and they do something on this group, and an eye for an eye makes the world go blind, right? Well, what we're seeing here is and some of the mainstream media that for the last year have been talking about how, fascism is so bad, and we've got these young fascists that are very against fascism, and they're fighting it. They call themselves Antifa, right? Which is totally fascist, burning books, rewriting history, silencing anybody who doesn't comply with their narrative, right? You got mainstream media showing this like, this is a good, like almost like the Starship Troopers, you know? The only good bug is a dead bug. I'm going to play some of that in the background. Would you like to know more? So, revenge is nothing but hate. I don't see anything in these videos but undue anger and hatred towards people who have nothing to do. This is how atrocities happen. This is how the rape of Nanking happened. This is how the armies and the English armies would go into French towns and pillage and burn the place, and this is how horrible things happen. This is that nationalism that they're stoking to hate even the average guy. Okay, I've ranted on that enough. But I'm not out of things to rant about. So next, I am back in the books. School has started again for me, and I am a biology major. Well, now I'm a natural sciences major with an emphasis in biology, and you can't go a semester, a class, without having the old evolution pushed on you. Yes, I am a creationist. Yes, I've been through the evolution classes. I have been one of the people who believed that there was no disconnect between, that both the secular view of creation and the biblical view could be reconciled, and there was no disconnect. But there is, really simple, really basic. God made everything and said it is perfect. Man was there when he said it's perfect. Death is not good. Death is anti-God. God is life. God does not like death. God is going to do away with death. Evolution is saying that an incomprehensible amount of death created the complex beauty of a made in the image of God man. Theologically, it is impossible to reconcile the theology of it is good. I once had this conversation with someone, and they said, so you're telling me that, what about the animals? Well, the animals didn't kill each other. No, they didn't. And he says, so you're telling me that God changed the physiology of all these animals to become predators? Yeah, that's a result of the sin. God brought death. Now man no longer has the dominion that he did over creation. He will again. Man was God's steward. He was in place of God in the Garden of Eden. He was God's children, God's image bearers, the thing that God created out of all of creation. That's why there's no racism in the Bible. In fact, the Bible says, of one blood did God make all the nations of the earth. There is nationalism in the Bible. It says God established the bounds of their inhabitants. And if you read the Bible, there's a very good reason for that. Because that's the reason for the Tower of Babel. God broke up that one world government because it had happened before the flood. Men became exceedingly evil. It would happen again. Man with no checks. There's nothing. God says that there's nothing that will be impossible for them. He didn't mean that they would build spaceships and weapons that could kill God. He meant that there is no bounds to the depravity of man. And when one man or ruling class can have control of all of humankind, then bad things happen. Like you have that's going to usher in the tribulation. And even then, it won't be a pure one world government. There will be resistance. So, let me get some agua here. Water. It's so yeah, and all you have to drink is water. It can get boring and everything, but when you're thirsty, there is nothing sweeter than that pure agua going down. So anyways, one world government, yeah. So, God establishes the bounds, and he uses one nation to check another nation. He used the Israelites to check the Canaanites because they became so exceedingly evil and they were sacrificing their own children. And then the Israelites didn't do what God didn't remove all that. And so the Israelites began worshiping the same gods as the Canaanites, and they were sacrificing their own children. And he brought another nation into, and you'll see that Egypt has been used to check Babylon, and Babylon was used to check Israel, and Israel right now is being used to check basically the Middle East, and America was used to check the Nazi Germany, right? So, wow, where did I get off on? How do I always make my way back to Nazis? Maybe it's because I keep seeing this. Maybe it's because this stuff is rising again in the opposition. What's supposed to be the opposition to the Nazis? The left is supposed to be the opposition to the far right, which were what the Nazis were. But the left is doing the same thing. They're silencing. I've had a video taken down on YouTube already for misinformation. It was a music video. They just didn't want certain voices to be heard. It's fascism. So anyways, right. So death is not a good thing. And when you take these, like I'm taking this class, straight out, the first thing I have to do, first assignment is watch this video where it says, if you don't believe in all the evidence leading up to, hey, I understand genetics, I understand genotypes and phenotypes, and there is nothing, like they take these similarities show that there is a line from this thing to this thing. That shows that there is the same line of thought, the same brain. There is a lot of similar information because the same thing created them. And yes, things do change. There's a lot of what would be called microevolution, adaptation. Things change in very fast, very quick. That's why even evolution says that when evolution happens, it might not happen for a million years, and then it just happens in a snap. Because when the climate changes, and it does, it has a lot in the last few thousand years, ice ages to periods of heat, and we're not in the hottest period the world's ever been in, and it could get a lot colder too, especially after this Tonga volcano. Okay, I understand I'm drinking too much. I'm trying to cut back on my drinking. I'll put that over there and try not to touch it again. But there's a lot of good resources for creation. So yeah, I start these classes first straight out of the gate. Hey, first of all, evolution. No evolution, you're an idiot, right? So they shame you into. And it's hard to know what... I'm not one of those... I'm not the dude from God's Not Dead, right? And I'm not talking about Kevin Sorbo. It's hard to know what to do because it's like, I just want to get my certificate that says I can do something else. I'm not here to be a freedom fighter. I'm not here to... I've made my education path a lot harder than it has needed to be because of standing up for my beliefs. You get tired. It's exhausting. So you try to walk the line. I try to walk the line of not betraying my beliefs, but not going full fighting the system. Right? That's not the. I have a lot of fight in me. There's systems I want to fight, but I just don't think that's my calling to challenge the. I know what system I'm entering into to get the path to go to the next level in the secular society. So, anyways, there's a lot of good resources out there. Answers in Genesis, Ken Ham, it's got the big ark encounter that I want to go to. He had the debate with Bill Nye. Didn't do the greatest, I don't think. There's some people, which I'll mention later, that could have done better. The Ark encounter cost a few $100 million, and people are always up in. It's so hypocritical. Look, think of all the good Christian stuff they could have done. Well, you spend hundreds of millions of dollars on 20 different movies that are out every. Nobody says anything about that, right? And that's just so you could get entertained for a couple hours and make some people that probably wouldn't think twice about using you to wipe their butts with millions of dollars. And that's okay. But something to explain this highly contested, very, there's no evidence. Well, you spend all this money to show the evidence, and then, that was just a bad waste of money, even if it does display the evidence. Just like when you see the memes, I would like to do a little segment on this sometime, deconstructing memes, where they show these memes, like where they show a homeless person, they say there's this many churches, and still there's homeless people sleeping on the streets. Let them in the churches. Hey, I'm not saying the churches shouldn't do more. I think that the majority, I think we're in a Laodicean church age right now. I don't think that there's much good coming out of churches, the majority of them. But, just taking my town as an example, I don't see any secular homeless shelters. There's Salvation Army, which clothes and feeds homeless people. There's Water Gardens, which is very Christian organization that houses and feeds and helps get resources to homeless people. There's the Souls Harbor, which is a Christian organization which houses so you got all these things that do stuff for the less fortunate, and they're all coming from churches. Support these things. The churches do. So it's kind of hypocritical to say, look, churches aren't doing enough, when the churches and the Christians a lot of times are doing almost all of it. So there you go. There's my 2 cents on that. So the resources, answers in Genesis, and Kent Hovind doesn't get enough credit. Went to jail. He was in jail. He's in a documentary that I don't know if you can find because it's affiliated with something that if I mention this video will get taken down for misinformation. After the Tribulation, check that one out. You know, I'm like I may have mentioned on here before. I'm not 100%. I think that there's a good possibility that Jesus comes in the second and not the third coming, that he comes when he says he's going to come, like it says, after that great tribulation, the trumpet will sound, and he will gather up his people from the four corners of the earth. And I can see where, there's lots of places that I could see where there might be your pre-tribulation or even mid-tribulation unbiblical word, rapture. Either way, here's the deal. If there's a rapture, that's great. Oh, what a relief. But if there's not a rapture, God, I've been preparing for this to happen. For the way I read the Bible, my trust is in you. Nevertheless, not mine, but thine will be done. But there's going to be a lot of confused and hurt and people that are probably going to maybe, I don't know, rethink their dedication to God. That God, especially in our pampered Western society, when people don't face death for believing in God, they're not even willing to risk their job for standing up to God, let alone their life or their family or bodily harm. People are doing that in other countries right now. They're not any less loved by God. So, anyways, after the tribulation, if you can find that I was on YouTube when I watch it, check it out. Just, open your mind up. You can look into why Ken Hovind went into jail. I don't think it was anything. It was a tax thing. I don't think it was anything that he purposely knowingly did. So, still got a lot of good stuff. Ken Hovind and my man Trey taps the screen Smith. He's got a lot of stuff. Look on his Noah stuff. There's also something that I think it might be on Prime. I don't know. It's called Noah. Oh, let me see. I think I had it here. No, I had it on my phone. I don't have my phone with me. The Days of the Flood. It's got a lot of good information. The first and second episode, or it's a 3-part series. The first and second, great information. The third one, it goes full Seventh-day Adventist on you. They did a lot of research. It got a lot of good stuff out in those first two. I just skipped the third 100%. So I'll find it and put it in the description. It talks about the great unconformity, how you have 1 billion years here and 1 billion years here, and there's supposed to be millions of years in between it, but it's at this point, and then it's just missing. But the other two, something that you'd see put if it was put down in sediments rather than millions of years of accumulation. A lot of good information. I'm not going to get into it all right now because I'm going to close this thing up. But not the Noah movie with the angry Australian guy. Russell Crowe. Yeah, not that one. That one's evil. That one says that God is evil. The director of that, he hates God. And he's on a personal mission to make big budget movies with superstars telling how much he hates God. Don't watch Mother. I mean, go ahead if you want to. It's horrible, and the message of that is God is evil, and I hate God. Mother. Not the one with the robot. That's pretty good. Watch the robot Mother. The one with you'll see the girl with the heart. So just a little bit of ranting today. Not having a lot of fun. But this weekend, still have a plan to have another guest on from Uganda. It's going to be quite interesting. So tune in then, and I'll see y'all later. Okay. Stop the recording.